One, two, three. What are you doing here? Oh, yes. Oh, it's writing time. Well, I was just going to jump in. What? You don't think it's a good idea? How else am I going to learn about the pond? Oh, yes, I can read about the pond. How about I get dried off and I'll meet you back here in about 1 second. Thanks for waiting for me. And I'm glad you caught me so I didn't get all wet and yucky. Anyway, I'm glad you remembered. Today is our pond day. We're studying about ponds of Indiana. What is involved in the habitats for the ponds of Indiana? Well, you guys just told me that I didn't have to dive into the pond to find out about the pond. I could read about the pond. Well, I'm glad you came prepared. I'm glad you have your notes because you have read about the ponds. So I'm going to share the screen and we will get started. Okay, these are the things you will need to be ready for today's lesson. You will need your pond habitat chart, which is right here. The book that you started last week, the last page you did was the forest page, and you will need a pencil and crayons. Go ahead and put me on pause, and I'll wait for you while you get your things. Welcome back. Thank you for getting all your things, and away we go. All right, I have put some X's here for the habitats we've already written about. We did the river habitat and the forest habitat last week. Today we will do the pond. Tomorrow we will do the cave. Okay, the topic is what the book is all about and what book do we read for our pond habitat research. Well, we could have read Life in the Pond, and there was another book you could have read also. I actually read both to find as much information as I could about ponds. Now, as I told you last week, I'm going to always probably have more information on my notes than you do. But I wanted to include as much as I could, as much learning as I could. That way I could pick the best parts to put in my writing. All right. And so I will go through my notes with you and also go over my plan for how I'm going to put it all on my my ponds page, just like I did last time. Okay, my plan. And remember that when I'm done with doing all of my writing and my illustrations, I will put the captions and labels on after all of my illustrations are done. Okay, so very important, probably the most important pieces of information are what is a pond like and what is the weather like. Those are so important. I have decided to put the information from this section, what is it like and what is the weather like, on the lines that you see here, okay? And just like last week too, I decided to put all the information that I could about animals, plants, and shelters within the illustrations. And I will also be able to use captions. But look at all this great information. What is a pond like? It's a small body of water. It's smaller than a lake. It is calm water. It doesn't flow like a river. And many things live in it and around it. And the weather. Well, the weather, just like all of our other Indiana habitats we've studied, depends on the climate and the seasons of the year. And I focused on a pond in the summer for mine. But look at all these things that I can include in my illustrations. And here is the beginning of where I want to put things. Remember, every page in informational text needs a heading. So I'm going to have the heading, the word pond, over a tree. It's going to be near a tree. I learned that ponds have these plants called reeds. And so I'm going to make my pond all this area right here. And I'm going to have reeds in this section. I learned about a mud puppy, which is an amphibious animal that lives in the pond. I'm going to put a log that has fallen across the pond with a turtle on it, because I learned that the turtles live inside in the water sometimes, and then they also are come out and sun themselves. I am going to draw some minnow eggs. Minnows are small fish, but I learned from my reading that minnows lay eggs in the plants that are in the water. So I'm going to draw that. And then I'm going to draw a picture of a blue heron, which is a really big bird that catches fish in the pond. And let's go on to the next part. And again, those are all illustrations. And then here, some other things I learned about water lilies again. I learned about catfish eating insects. And so I'm going to put that there. The insects live within the plants. We're learning again about a beaver dam. A beaver dam is also in this pond habitat. And I learned about green algae. It's a plant that grows on the rocks and it makes the rocks really slippery. And then I'll put some more reeds here. But I wanted to call attention to something. A lot of the animals, a lot of the plants that we're seeing in the pond habitats of Indiana are also part of the river habitats. So we're going to see a lot of the same animals. Okay. Well, after all that, let's see if I actually put what I said I would. I put the word pond over a tree. I wanted to make it more interesting. So here are the reeds that I read about, the mud puppy. I also threw in a few rocks here and there. I put the turtle on that log that's fallen over. And look, I talked about the minnow eggs. I thought it would be a good idea to put a caption because that was really interesting. The reason I feel it's interesting is because the minnow eggs are using those plants as shelter. The minnow parent laid the eggs there to keep them safe. Minnow eggs are safe for now in the shelter of the green plants right there. Okay, and then here, I told you I was drawing a blue heron. Blue herons love ponds because they can fish there. And I thought it was so interesting that I would put a caption here. Here's some fish. The heron waits very still to spear a fish with its bill. Oh my goodness, that rhymes. And here we have a catfish, just like we saw in the river, but this shows he's eating little insects from the plants there. The catfish swims through the plants to catch insects hiding in them. A beaver dam again with a label. Reeds, I labeled the reeds. I also labeled the algae. I'll read this for you. A pond is a small body of water, smaller than a lake. The water in a pond is calm. I thought that was an important word. That might be a word that some students don't know. I thought I would highlight it, make it stand out, because I'm trying to show the difference between the pond water and a river water. Again, the water in a pond is calm and still, not like a flowing river. Many living things in ponds are the same as the living things in rivers. The weather changes with the seasons. Okay. If you need to check this out again, you can re-watch the video. I can put the slides for this on the Week at a Glance so that you can check that out if you need to look at the individual slides. Don't forget, after you do your page, don't forget to go through the green section right here and ask yourself all these did I questions about ponds. Next Monday, or rather day one of the next week, we will start talking about the red section. But until then, we will just do the green section. Don't forget to use the checklist. It's very important. Well, I look forward to seeing you when we come back to our cave habitats. Oops. And, oh, where are we? Okay. Well, I'll just stay little for now. Um, anyway, I will see you next time for cave habitats. Make sure you read about cave habitats. Get your notes ready so we're ready to write. Take care.